I thought my computer was going to crash for a second. It's good. We're recording and streaming at the same time now. It's possible. We live in the
We're dual wielding
future.
it.
So we're good. Billy and I decided to get together to have a nice discussion on our community, because that's really our main like objective, like especially with the channel and the brand and everything. And Billy, obviously you do development work as well, so you come from a little bit on a different perspective.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. I have a kind of very. I mean, I like using the word nuanced a lot. You're probably going to hear that a lot in our
Yeah.
discussions in general, but it's definitely one of those perspectives that I have where it's like I can see where developers come from and where that angle is, but I also have that kind of duality of being a consumer and knowing what consumers want as well. So it's a weird one. And I suppose most developers are probably in the same boat unless you're like Shigeru Miyamoto or someone like that, or
Yeah.
whoever it was that worked for Nintendo who never played a game in their life and managed to come up with all these different ideas and stuff.
Did he
But I
really
think
not play games?
someone, I can't remember if
He like
I
barely
may have
plays
thrown,
games.
yeah, I may have
That's
just
weird.
thrown Miyamoto's name out there, but there was someone, I think it was at
I would believe
Nintendo,
it.
where they're like
I believe
they
it.
make amazing games and they come up with the amazing ideas, but they have never played a game in their life. Like they're just not a gamer at all. And it's just like
That's
I
so
suppose
wild.
some people are like that.
That's so wild.
But
That's like
yeah,
what's his face? Oh shit. Adam Driver. That's his name. Adam Driver.
mm,
He refuses to watch movies he's in. He won't fucking do it. It like freaks him out. He's got like a phobia seeing himself like act, I guess. So like he'll
yeah,
just do the takes and then not watch them back and just be like, if you guys say it's good, that's good enough for me. Like
yeah,
like
yeah. I'll just take your word as gospel.
I
That's
could
it.
understand that, because it would be like max cringe to like watch yourself do that. Like I can't watch our own
Yeah,
videos. It makes me cringe. Like even if it's a good video, I still cringe. I'm still like, I can't watch
yeah.
myself. I can't do this.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose yeah, and it's a very human, I suppose, a human knee-jerk reaction to be like, oh gosh, like you're just
Ugh.
watching yourself in something kind of thing.
I don't.
It's like, even though you're good, you're like, we're great, like you're great
Yeah.
at doing something. It's just like, oh, that's how nervous I felt before putting out Epic Squirrel. Like
Right.
I'm just thinking, you immediately like the moment you press publish or you're about to press publish on like Play Store or this
Yeah.
place or that place, you immediately the first thought that goes through your head is, what if this is not going to go down well at all?
Right.
Like up until that point, you're so excited. You're like, yes, we worked
Yeah.
like a year on this and it's coming like ready. We're about to release it. And then suddenly you're just like, but what if?
The only way I can describe that is because this is an actual analogy for me. I hate roller coasters. I don't like G-forces, and they freak me the fuck out. But I have many
Right.
friends, and I also live near Disney World. So they're not really an option as much. Thankfully, my wife does not force me onto them very often. But
Yeah.
that feeling for me is equivalent to getting on the roller coaster and strapping in. And oh, good, Lemon Sprinkles is here. Good friend. Lemon Sprinkles is joining me on my Breath of the Wild streams as well. Anyways, back to the point. When you're strapped into the roller coaster, right, and you know, like the second you get in, and it's like dun, 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 that
And there's no turning back.
yeah, you're like, I don't want to do this, but I'm already fucked. Like I'm already here.
Yeah.
Like I'm already.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
get off. I'm already. This is
Yeah.
just gonna be scary, and I have to deal with it. Like
Right,
that's
right.
the point you're at.
Point of no return.
Yeah, you're like, well, I can, I guess, not publish this game, but is
Right,
that
right.
really a choice? Do I really have that choice right now?
Yeah. A year of development time, about to
Time,
publish
energy,
it.
effort,
Guess that one.
my
Yeah,
teammates.
just don't worry about it.
Right,
Just shelve it. Not even shelve, just delete the whole project file.
right. Just you know what? Alternate timeline. I'm just gonna. This never existed. It never existed.
Exactly.
Oh, Lemon Sprinkles, you did miss the introduction. This is Billy. For anybody who comes in through the chat, we are recording a video on YouTube as well, and so we'll be kind of ignoring the chat a little bit. I try to pay attention as I can, but this is Billy. He also works at Ambassadors of Gaming. Ambassadors of Gaming is actually a nebulous organization term. We're like, I can't do it without getting political. I can't do it. I can't do it. Anyways, we're more of an organization than I am the ambassador of gaming. So Billy is
Yeah.
one of the there's 7 or 8 of us. I can never remember. There's a bunch of us.
We're a multi-headed
Yes.
entity. We're just one entity, several heads. Kind of
Yes,
thing.
we're much like a Hydra.
We all come together. Exactly.
Yes, we're a
Exactly.
Hydra
Cut off one
essentially.
head, another grows in its place.
Basically, we only become stronger every time one of us gets cut down. Like we started with what 2, and then we go to 3, and now we're at 7. But anyways, I guess
we're gonna assimilate the whole world.
you and I, much like Daryl and I, will bullshit about everything. 6-headed Hydra. Yeah, I guess. With the topic at hand, I guess we should get to that, right? That's kind of the point. So the short version is we wanted to talk about, because I think you and I view it more or less similarly on gaming, our community, and that's, as I pointed out at the beginning, that's really important to us. That's specifically the reason why we started Ambassadors, and specifically why I brought in Billy and Daryl and Kevin and Adam and everybody else, Jason, Jordan, and that it worries me. Our community worries me, basically, is my point, because I see it post Gamergate, and you're probably more familiar with Gamergate than I am, because I hiatus from gaming, like totally. From 2011 to like 2014. So anything in that time period related to games, I don't know anything about. So I have to rely on my my colleagues. But I can speak on the culture post that, right? Like, and post that, it's just like progressively getting worse. Like,
Yeah.
And I think you and I discussed this a little bit. I don't remember if I exactly said it this way, but the realization I had is that one of the big reasons I think gaming culture specifically has gotten as bad as it is not really the fault of like necessarily the community. It's the fact that politics have gotten so fucked in every country around the world, basically at this point, that like our cultures online can no longer separate the two things. Like they're incapable of doing it at this point. So like when you talk to somebody on Twitter and you're like, hey, I really liked Assassin's Creed 3. It was really good. And you have some asshole that's just like, yeah, but too woke with a Native American protagonist. You're like, whoa, man, buddy, chill. I just said I like the game.
Right.
Like it's not that deep. My analysis was not that deep. Like, and that's like, I think that's the root of the cause of like how shitty our community has gotten, or at least the face of it. You know what I mean? Because I think the face of it is the problem you and I have with it particularly, is that like when you talk to people who play games, they're not like that. They're not like what you see on the news, and not like what you see like on YouTube videos. Like they're not like that for the most part. There are a lot of loud voices, like I don't want to name them because I don't want to platform them, but at the same point, like fuck them. Like One Angry Gamer, he sucks, dude. Like, and this is when I say these, like when I say sucks or is a piece of shit, that's just me. I'm not speaking for everybody. So if Billy thinks somebody is actually great, that's his opinion. He may be wrong, but that's his opinion. Anyways, like the quartering, dude sucks, right? Like stuff like that. These people who rise to prominence because politics and games are so intertwined, and we just, at least in American society, I can't speak for necessarily British culture, but it seems like our cultures pretty much mirror each other, it seems like, at this point.
Yeah.
In terms of like politics and like cultural shit going on.
Yeah. I mean, the thing, I'd say now more than ever, like UK, from a cultural standpoint, in terms of like how we react to things, I guess, and like it's becoming very similar. I think the internet is such a global space that, like, as the internet grew and these communities grew, and obviously had Facebook and Twitters and social media in general, it just kind of blurred the lines between communities, even like, far out east, and then you come all the way over to the west and stuff, and it's just like it's blurring a lot of those lines.
Yeah.
But UK and US specifically, I think they share a lot of the same kind of we're gonna say like problems in that sphere of kind of how we, I don't know, like everything just seems so polarized. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
well, it's like even the mask thing. Like that's the
Yeah,
point where,
yeah.
like everything is like no or yes. We have the yes crowd and the no crowd. We can't just all collectively be like, maybe this, I don't, maybe cancer is bad. Is cancer bad?
Yeah.
Can we agree cancer is bad? And some people are like,
Yeah.
well, when a pedophile gets cancer, is that bad? And you're like, Jesus Christ, man, like come on.
Where did I start it and
Yeah.
where did it end up, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Like,
like-
what I'm saying we should work towards like solving this thing,
Right.
and we're adding like this whole extra layer to it, and it's just like time and a place. I
Right.
think that's what it is. That when it comes down to it, that's probably
Yeah.
what it is. It's like having the right time and a place. And here's the thing, like sometimes like having a yes camp and a no camp, like that works.
Yeah.
But only if it leads to kind of a nice kind of well-reasoned debate on
Yeah.
something. You know what I'm saying? It's like if you're gonna have a debate on something, great. Like whether it's gaming or whatever it is, like if it's on the quality of a game or the caliber of a studio, whatever it is, like it doesn't have to be so kind of like I'm this camp, you're that camp kind of thing.
I have
Like,
to
I
have
could be-
something
I
to
could-
fight.
You know, same. But like I have
Yeah.
to like people just so desperate to kind of fly flags. And it's just like, my guy, it's not like 1800s anymore. You know what I'm saying? We ain't like that no more.
Right. And I have a bunch of stuff written down, and I want to go through them as organically as we can.
Sure.
And so I want to hit 3 points that I think are all interwoven together. I think for the most part, we probably have the worst journalism of any hobby. Like our journalists, for the most part, in whole, suck. Like there's a handful of really good ones. Like Jason Schreier's really good. What was her name? She was at Kotaku. She left Kotaku. She was the other big name writer. I forget her name. I have to look it up.
Oh, that's literally back
But-
tip of my tongue as well.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
left recently. Anyway, she left as well. Jason's at Bloomberg. I forget where she's at now, but she wrote this really, really good piece on, I think it was like women representation in gaming. Obviously, you know, this is like beating a dead horse. We've talked about this like a billion times. But she wrote it in a really well done, nuanced way where it's like, I could show this to somebody who's necessarily like, does everything have to be women in games? And they could understand at least the point of what she's trying to make. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I really think, because I was really like, I gotta be honest, I was really into the like pipeline that led people to the alt-right. Like I was into some of that
Yeah.
stuff that led people there. Thankfully I didn't
Yeah.
follow that path. Like I got to a certain point
Yeah.
where I was like, I was watching like anti-SJW like Gamergate stuff and moved from that to like when the conservatives at one point here were like, we're talking big ideas shit, like we're open freedom of speech shit, to like Ben Shapiro. And I was like, oh, Ben Shapiro's kind of dumb, like, and like that was my exit point, thankfully. Like, but
Yeah.
back to the point is that like, so the anti-SJW stuff, it really like the SJW stuff at the time of the anti-SJW stuff, both are really bad. Like honestly, like both things were really bad. When you had like the very fringe like 3 people that were like, whatever, you know, throw all men in camps or some shit, like concentration camps or shit. like that's like one person, like, you know what I mean? Nobody's saying that one person
Right.
is saying that, but like that combined with the journalism being a thing together, combined with anti-SJW stuff, and then on top of that, like just the world being shitty, like all of those things I think really contributed to where we're at now, of being like, okay, well, there's a large portion of this community that's just like, that ultimately I think doesn't care. Like they don't care as long as you're not like, I don't really know the terms that's not like mimi, you know what I mean? Like as long as it's not
Yeah,
like super woke, they don't really care. Like
Yeah,
for
it's
example,
just indifferent.
go ahead.
I was just saying, like, they're just there's the large group of people just very indifferent to like the whole, like everything to do with like, they just don't,
Yeah, they just want to
whether
play
they're
games.
not aware. Yeah, exactly. Whether they're not aware or whether they're aware, and they're just like, you know, I just want to play. I just want to put the controller in my hands and just play something.
Right, and I think that's the majority of probably our community, the silent majority of people who just, they don't really follow games that much. They just occasionally go to Amazon or GameStop or go to the store and are like, ooh, this game looks cool, and they pick up a game and that's it. They don't think nothing of it, you know?
Right.
Like The Last of Us 2, for example, like we had a whole discussion about it, but like the social issues in there are way overblown. Like way overblown. Like the transgender thing is like barely even brought. You have to piece it together basically. Like it's not
Yeah.
like thrown in your face. Like I hope
Yeah.
that wasn't a spoiler for you. I know you were playing it, but I don't know if you'd beaten it.
You know, I'm a rare breed of gamer. Like I create the distinction between like obviously like someone could spoil something for me, but experiencing it firsthand is always like a different feeling.
Right.
So I don't mind. Like I could talk about like stories and
Okay, cool.
games and
I
all this
also
and
like
so that's
put some obfuscation on it, so you're not just like, okay, this is obviously what you're talking
Yeah.
about when I get to this point of the game. Like
the character. This is
yeah.
the scenario.
I don't think you'll guess it while you're playing through, which is
Yeah.
why I said it the way I said it. So, anyways, I think that leads to, I want to talk specifically about like the platform, like the fanboys, I guess, you know.
Mm.
So when we're talking about those groups of people, I think with PS4, what you see is the reason why their community, the silent ones, not the ponies. We're not talking about the ponies yet. We'll get to the ponies in a second. Your favorite group of people.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
So the people that play on PlayStation, they don't see any of the stuff we see, and they're just like, I have a PS4, I have God of War, I have Spider-Man, I have these really good games. And maybe if they dig a little bit deeper, it comes across their feed. They're like, oh, whatever, like PlayStation sold 100 million units. That's really impressive or something, you know, and that's like as deep as it goes for them, you know? And then with the Nintendo fans, I think particularly are the worst for them, for their own community. Like they're the worst themselves because they actually just fight each other. Like they don't fight Xbox fans or Sony fans or PC fans. They only get mad at Nintendo and each other. Like those are the only people that get mad. It's super weird. Like because at least with Sony and Xbox, like there's always like your platform sucks. No, your platform sucks. Well,
good old-fashioned tribalism.
Yeah, just dumb tribalistic shit. But with Nintendo, it's like Nintendo's like, hey, here is a Nintendo Direct with indie games that we've already announced. And then they do it, and they're like, what the fuck? Why is there only indie games that you already shown? And it's like, we told you that's what it was gonna be. What the fuck do you want from us? Like, even in the video, we told you at the very beginning of the video, hey, today we're gonna look at some great games that we've already seen before, but here's some new stuff from them. And then at the end, you go to the comments and it's like, trash, only indie games, no one cares. And you're like, what? You're like, come on, man. Nintendo tries to be honest with you guys because you constantly bitch at them. That one in particular is the weird. Like these are just like random thoughts I had as I was coming up with these bullet points before I said them to you. And I was just like, Nintendo is weird. I never thought about it. Like never actually given it literally any thought. And then what I did, I'm like, yeah, they just bitch about each other. Like that's really it.
Yeah.
And they're like, why can't you be happy with what we get?
Yeah, Nintendo's really kind of just in their own lane. They just mind their own business.
Yeah, it's really funny to me. And then with Xbox, the Xbox community, what I wrote down here and what I sent you is that the Xbox One actually has decent games and it's a good platform. But when you're the silent majority type person, you know what I mean? Like we were talking about, you're not really involved. You don't really know these things, so you just see what's kind of in front of you, and that's about it. And you don't really dig any deeper. That type of stuff isn't as sexy as when you see a PlayStation advert and it's just like Spider-Man, God of War, Last of Us, you know, Red Dead, like shit like that. You know what I mean? Like the sizzle reel bullshit, like marketing wise. But if Xbox comes on and they go sizzle reel, here's you know Gears, Halo, you know all these Ori stuff like that, big name games, and they're like, boom, get all of these for Game Pass, $9.99. Like that would be an effective marketing campaign. That would be sexy and appealing. I don't know if that's an advert they run. I assume that's something they do, but I haven't seen one. You know what I mean? And if they haven't, you're welcome. Somebody get on that shit. Do that. Like, you can have my idea. It's free. I won't charge you.
Throw that out to them. Yeah. No, I mean I agree. Like this is what I'm thinking about. It's like I feel like now more than ever, and maybe the argument could have been made some time ago as well. But I'm thinking now, especially going into this new generation, more than ever, there is such a clear distinction between the two platforms than I think there's ever been before. Like from their brand identity to their business ideologies Like everything, almost
It-
every single approach is completely different. Like for a
Mhm.
point from 2013 up until kind of I don't know what year, like let's say
Relatively
2017,
recently.
relatively recently.
Yeah.
Like it always felt like you always felt like Xbox was trying to catch up to PlayStation, but for the first time, now that we see kind of what they're doing with their franchises, you're just like, wow, they're actually trying to go down a completely different route.
Yeah.
Like, and they're not caring about Sony's doing this or Sony's doing that, this, that,
Right.
and the other. Um,
They're
but
taking the
as you
Nintendo
said,
approach, where they're like, we're gonna do whatever the
yeah,
fuck we want.
exactly.
Like,
We're gonna have our own thing.
right.
We've got our Game Pass. We banked on that early on. We got that. But yeah, so I mean, it's an interesting one for sure. Like the companies are evolving, but fanboys are gonna fanboy.
Like, we've been talking about it, and like, I don't know, like, if anybody else does it, but I like kind of coined it, at least in our group chat. I'm just like, dude, fanboyism is like this terrible disease that rots your brain, and you just turn into like, you know what I mean? You just become like an NPC. Like, just honestly, you become an NPC when you become a fanboy. It's super weird. It rots your brain, and you're only like, PlayStation fanboys are like, yeah, well, exclusives. And then the Xbox fanboys are always like, yeah, well, Game Pass. And like that's it. Those are the conversations you see when they fight each other. They're just like, does Xbox have games? You're like, well, that's a stupid question. Yes, of course Xbox has games. Are you stupid? Are you dense?
And
Like,
every now and then you'll see the occasional tweet of someone trying to get really technical, talking about the
Yeah.
SSD and the I/O of PS5, or like on the Xbox side, talking about the velocity architecture and how it's just like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it's like
that,
there's one thing like when it's like blatantly just like really simplistic shit, like
right.
oh Game Pass and like exclusives, like okay, fine, fair enough. Like you want to use those as trump cards, fine. But then when people who clearly don't know the technical side
Right.
get involved with that, so it's just like, oh my
And
god,
yes,
I want to
that's
pull my
exactly
hair out.
why people like stay away. And even me, like, it's funny because like I had the opposite reaction to gaming culture. Like, the more we did ambassadors, and especially when you guys came in, I was like, maybe I should get like more involved, like in the community, and have discussions with people outside of my bubble. And then I went to try to do that, and I was like, these people are all dicks. Like Reset Era is trash. Like, I'm not ever gonna go to Reset Era. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I tried to go there and see what the conversations they were having were like, and it's just like, no, Reset Era is just trash. Like, everybody there is just shitting at each other for one dumb thing or another. Or they do what we were talking about earlier, and are just like, yeah, well, politics, and you're like, well, we're talking about video games. We're not talking about politics. Chill. Like,
Yeah,
and so it's weird. Gaming has its own pipeline that kicks you out of it. Like you get into games and you're like, oh, maybe I should learn more about it. Oh, I would like to have discussions with other people that are interested in my hobby. And then you do, and you're like, these people suck. And then you're like, I'm just gonna go play games with my friends, like the people that I know in real life, or at least like have internet.
You try and break
friendships with.
away, but then it's just back. Yeah, exactly.
And then every time you're like, I don't know. And then like even people now, like, I think a lot of people have like, it's like an innocent sort of thing with their takes. You know, and maybe somebody who's not into the culture is like, I played The Last of Us 2. I thought it was really great, but I didn't like that twist. And then you have somebody that's like, you hate gay people. Sent. Like, you're like, what? I never said I hated gay people. I just said I didn't like that twist. Like, and then you have somebody that's like, oh, so I see you're with the liberal agenda. And you're like, what? No, I just said I like a game. Chill. Like, and then they're like, why do I want to talk to these people? Like,
yeah,
we unfortunately have the like, we don't have the like analogy they make with cops where it's like, oh, it's like a bad apple spoils the bunch type thing. It is kind of like that, except our basket is just full of rotten apples. Like, we just have rotten apples sitting on top of the good apples that continue to just rot the rest of the basket. Like, and it's really frustrating because like, even when I've tried to be like, okay, I won't match this person aggressively, you know what I mean? I like won't be a dick. I'll just be like, hey, I know this, I don't know this, and these are my preferences, and that's the conversation I want to, like, I'm trying to have. And, you know, then you just get like, yeah, well, you're a dumb fuck. And you're like, okay, well, I tried. Like, I tried to have a conversation with you. And then I
Yeah.
think the adversity towards uh, with everything that happened, it also makes it a weird community for people that aren't, how do I put this? Basically people like me who are straight white people. If you're not a straight white person, or especially a dude, like the community is not nearly as welcoming to you in certain spaces. In other spaces it's very accepting of you. In other spaces it's not. Like if you're an indie dev, for
Yeah.
example, like we've seen there's tons of like transgender or non-binary or gay people in indie dev that just get shit on all the time. Like sometimes they have shitty takes and they deserve to get dogpiled, but for the most part, like if you're just dogpiling on them because they're like, haha, you're gay, like, okay, great, like that,
Right.
great criticism, bro. Like you did it, you did it, you won gaming, good job. Like, what are you doing with that? Like facilitate actual conversation. Raise your IQ above
Right.
5. Like
Right.
it's really frustrating
It's
to me.
like one of our other ambassadors, Daryl.
Yeah.
What he says, some people you give them a brain cell, they'd be dangerous.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. If you gave them one more brain cell to operate with, they might actually be able to come up with a semi decent argument for their shitty take.
Yeah.
And it's just so weird to me because I don't want our community to be this way, and I don't want it to be like this. I don't want it to be either ends of the spectrum. I don't want it to be like, oh, nobody can talk about anything, and I don't want it to be like, okay, well, you can talk about everything, and that includes you being a piece of shit to people on the internet. You know, like I'd like to find that middle
Yeah.
ground, like we were saying before, of just like, okay, you can be critical of games without being a dick. Like you can do
Yeah.
that. But they don't know how to do that apparently. They refuse to at least learn a way to do it without being a dick.
Yeah, I've been criticized. I've been personally like criticized on this particular kind of topic of discussion right here. Like
yeah,
in terms of like I get the need to criticize stuff, and obviously people write reviews or they make reviews or they put reviews out there for the very reason that they want to criticize a game or they want to put that out there, and it's like fine, okay, great, fair enough, this and the other.
yeah,
But it's to be like purposefully contrarian to someone who's saying that they enjoy something. You know what I'm saying? It's like if I really enjoyed a game or I really enjoy, for instance, let's pick a really kind of hot button kind of topic game that's really, let's just say Fallout 76, right?
yeah. Sure, that's a good one.
Now, a lot of people are like, oh, it looks this or it looks terrible. Or what about its launch and this and the other? But I have fun with it, or a friend that I know, they have a lot of fun with it, and they
Sure.
say, oh man, it's great, this and the other. But if all I do is say to him, like whenever he posts something, or if I was to post something in favor of the game and say Fallout 76, it's great, da da da,
Mhm.
and then someone comes along and says, oh no, but then this, oh, but then that, this, that, and the other. Happened actually recently. I don't know, you may have noticed this as well. I was kind of really enamored with Assassin's Creed all of a sudden. And I was just kind of starting a
Yeah.
discussion about it, and kind of wanted to get out there that while I kind of love the Assassin's Creeds of yesteryear, which many people do,
Mhm.
I've created that separation where I was like, yes, I love those games, but those games still exist. They haven't gone away.
Yeah.
Like if I want that feeling, I can play those games. Like the new games are going in a different direction, and I fully love that as well.
Yeah.
And then someone comes along in the comments and immediately starts saying, oh, but they shat on the law and they did this and they did that, and I'm just like, I mean, first and foremost, saying they shat on the law, that's factually incorrect.
Yeah.
I obviously didn't want to get into that whole thing there, but I'm just like, you see a post that is praising or that's really kind of enamored by a certain thing,
Yeah.
and you feel like that's your platform to kind of, I'm not saying you, obviously,
No,
I'm saying
no.
you
The
specifically, but people in general, like
nebulous
they'll
you.
see
Yeah.
exactly right. So it's like seeing a platform where someone has spoken praise about something and saying, I'm going to use that platform to push my negativity about the
Yeah.
same thing. It's like, make your own platform. If you're going to have an opinion
Yeah.
or something, like share it on your own space, and then people who agree with you or whatever the case may be, you can have then a civil
Sure.
discussion in the comments there. But it makes it purposefully kind of confrontational,
Right.
I think. And I think that's where a lot of the problem comes from. It's like people feel the need to be like to air their contrarian points of view not necessarily where it needs to be raised. And in gaming specifically, it's like it's not that deep. It's like you like a game, I don't like a game.
And
I don't like a
that
game
could be
that you
it.
like.
That could be the end of the
You like the
discussion.
game.
You could just be like, I don't like it. You'd be like, okay, cool.
And I could literally say to you, with no skin off my nose, Mike, I really hope you enjoy the game that you're playing.
Yeah.
I've spread
That's
some
what
positivity.
I do too, yeah.
You have fun with the game. Yeah. I'm never going to play
with this game I hate. I hope you enjoy it because I didn't. I would like somebody to enjoy it. That would be nice. That would be a good feeling for me.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe it's because we're different types of people. Maybe they get enjoyment out of shitting on what people like, whereas we want people to like things.
Yeah, it's a pure idealism. It's just wanting it to be, I don't know, a bit. It comes back to that all famous word, like that whole kind of nuance kind of thing. It's like you like something, I don't like something, I like something, you don't like something, but there's kind of like a ground in the middle where we can meet and say, you know what, like shake hands on this and say, you do you.
Right. And that's how me and Chris were on like even Breath of the Wild. I specifically bring that up because people who have seen the people in the chat who have seen us, or at least me stream Breath of the Wild. I went on a Breath of the Wild journey specifically because I was like, all right, it's been whatever 3-4 years at this point, right? Breath of the Wild's been out. I've played a lot of different games since then. Let me try it out and let me revisit it. Let me see how I feel about it. And I felt like some of my initial criticisms did hold up. I didn't like weapon degradation, stuff like that. But I really enjoyed the open world, which is not something I originally said when I played it. I didn't enjoy the open world because I thought it was too vast and too empty. And I realized this time around that the reason why I feel that way is because I was playing the game as the first time around, not using like the fast travel system as much. I was like, I really just want to explore the world. And that's not really how it's designed. It's really designed for like, this is really cool. I've been here now. Time to go somewhere else. Like, and see the next new thing. Like, that's really how it's designed to be played. And when I've been playing it that way, I've enjoyed it a lot more. So I think your approach to games also matters, especially with the mindset. Like, if you buy a game that you already think you're going to hate, that makes no sense to me. Like, I would never do that. I would never buy a game that I think is going to suck or I'm not going to like just so I can say, I bought this game and it's shitty. I didn't think I was going to like it and I was right. Like, you're fucking yourself.
The only game, exactly. The only game recently that I feel transcends that is Death Stranding, because a lot of people didn't know what they were getting into. I mean, they knew it was going to be a Kojima game with all the connotations that comes with, but like no one knew what they were getting into with Death Stranding. But now, if someone said if you didn't like Death Stranding, and we had a bit of a discussion about this as well the other day, it was like, while it had its moments at the start, it kind of started falling flat. But now, if someone was to say to you, "Oh, this new game came out, why don't you check it out? It's like Death Stranding," we can actually say, "I'm all set," kind of thing.
That's not for me.
Because you've seen where that road kind of goes down. Like, you're just like, nah, I'm good. But even then, like, people like you and I, and I'm sure there's several others as well, would be like, you know what? I'm glad you're having fun with the game. It's not really going to be for me because I don't quite enjoy Death Stranding, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Instead of saying that, how can you play? This is what happens. How can you play games like Death? How on earth are you enjoying those games? I don't understand how you
enjoys
it's
the shit gameplay. Yeah. It can't.
Yeah. It's like, how on earth?
It always comes back to the language we use. Always.
Exactly. Oh my goodness, I've gotten criticized so much for enjoying like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, for example. I mean, the game was flipping nominated for Game of the Year, for goodness sake. It was nominated. It was literally nominated by a board of whatever, like the gaming award, whatever you want to call it, like the Academy equivalent.
Yeah.
Right. And they decided that this game is potentially worthy of a Game of the Year award. Yet when I say, "Oh man, the gameplay, I loved it, the story," and people are like, "Oh, how dare you? It's just so bland. The open world is so empty." And I'm just like, "Okay, you played it, you felt it was empty. I played it and thought, wow, I want to explore all this shit." Like we're not on the same side. Like, and nothing someone can say to me can change my mind about something.
Yeah.
And nothing I can say. And the thing is, with that being said, it seems like you and I understand that we can't change other people's minds. But it seems other people are constantly trying to change our minds about things we like sometimes, like, but then like, but how dare like Ubisoft do this with the
Yeah.
franchise, or how dare it's just like, but the exact points that you're making to me, I enjoyed those exact points of
Yeah.
the game.
For me, it was good. For you, it was bad. That's okay. It's
Right,
funny.
this is that whole nuance kind of thing.
With specifically on that point, for me at least, again, I can't speak for others, but like when you guys talk favorably about a game and you really tell me like what the game, what appeals to you about the game, and I hear things that resonate with me, I'm like, oh, maybe I was wrong about. For example, Assassin's Creed. Like at this point, I'm pretty certain I'm probably gonna pick up whatever it's called, Valhalla. That's what it's called. I'm not gonna go back and visit the old ones, just because I would rather just buy something that I can play on next gen, like kind of day one-ish, you know.
For sure. For sure, I respect that.
And but I know going in, I can go, my friends really like this because of this, this, and this. I really liked some of those things, and then I also know that the other games had this, this, and this that I may not like. So for me, it'll be a mixed bag, but I feel informed about that decision. Again, I don't think really like the nuance that we keep going back to is really there. Of like, oh shit, what was the game? Oh, damn it, I can't remember. There was a game. So someone and I were just it left my mind. Daryl, I was thinking about Daryl specifically. I'm surprised Daryl's impressions don't get blown up more because he tends to like games people hate. Like he just tends to like games people don't like Recon, Ghost Recon, the last one. People fucking hate that game generally, it seems like, as a consensus.
Yeah.
But Daryl's like,
God,
I like this game. It's a good game. Like, you know, and I haven't played it. I know when I played the last Ghost Recon before that, I was like, meh, not really for me. And that was it. That was like the most I thought about it. Now, to be fair, and Chris never will let me live this down. We game share, so he bought it. And he bought the gold edition. And he was like, I'm never going to let you live it down that I bought that for like $100 and then you played like 2 missions. Like, you're a real asshole for that. Like, you asked me to buy that as like rotation because like I bought the game before and he bought the next one after. And he's like, I'm never going to let you live that down. I spent $100 on that. You're a dick. Like, and so, you know, I think when it comes to changing people's minds, if we approach conversations in the way that you guys do, in a more friendly, less adversarial manner, but I think at this point it's not really specific to us. I think it's specific to, and by us I mean our community. It just seems to be like a cultural thing, like at this point, like an overall cultural problem. It just amplified the worst natures, I think, in our communities, and that's why it particularly like pisses me off. Like, I don't like that being a gamer is a joke, like a literal meme. You know what I mean? Like, when you say like, when people ask me like what I do, I'm not like, I'm a gamer, and like I feel good about that. I'm like, I like to play video games, and I like kind of feel ashamed about it because like
there's a preconceived notion about the kind of person you are based on just that statement.
Yeah,
that I play games. All of a sudden, you seem as like you'll come across, even if you're not displaying any likeness of that, people will think, man, this dude probably got a really angry streak in him, and he'll probably kind of explode any minute now, kind of thing. So I've got to be careful. You know, I've heard about what these gamers are like.
Heard of gamers. And I wrote it in our notes, like
various thing.
All of it's so intertwined in my mind with like, and I don't really believe in horseshoe theory, and I hate to like that we have to keep going into political stuff, but it's just so intertwined, like at least socially, like social politics. Like for me, what I think and what I hear about from people who aren't in the community is that we have people who only know about the crazy SJWs and only know about the incels. That's about it. Like, so when you meet somebody in the real world, they're like, well, are you an SJW or are you an incel? And you're like, I'm neither. You know, and it's just like, it's so weird because our community got intertwined with the like hardcore, like crazy, weird SJW stuff at the beginning, and that's not like, I'm not talking about like gay people should be treated like normal people. That's not like crazy SJW stuff. I'm talking about like that one fucking crazy bitch that was like, throw men in concentration camps. Like, it's, you know, like. For some reason our community got intertwined with that, and then when the culture war stuff started like booming, like gaming got sucked into it somehow. Like all that stuff from Gamergate, and then like intertwined with us trying to be a more open community, being like, hey, we made a game and the person just happens to be gay. Now, like I would say pre even like 2015, 2016, because specifically for like you guys, like that was what around the time they did the referendum on Brexit or whatever, like the vote or whatever, and then we obviously got Trump. Pre that, like, yeah, sure, you still would have had like the trolls or whatever bitching about gay people being in games, but it would have never been like 17 fucking articles and like 32 goddamn YouTubers being like, go woke, get broke. Like, that never was a thing in our community before that happened. Like those two specific instances, I'm only speaking for our cultures, obviously, but they represent the same ideology, so it doesn't fucking matter, really. But like when those two things happened, it just became like we're unable to just like live normal lives, and nothing can just be fucking normal anymore. Like everything has to be this politics shit, and it's just like, can we just like take all the dumb bullshit, right? Just take it all, just get it the fuck out of here. Like just throw it away.
Dump it far away.
Just throw it away.
Tie a cinder block right to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, just all the toxic bullshit, just throw it all away. All the crazy SJW shit.
Then again,
all the incel shit.
Then again, if it's toxic, you wouldn't want to throw it to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah,
so
I guess that's true.
Probably just burn it.
I guess technically that's what we tried to do, and now we've poisoned our own ocean, our own community. We tried to do that, and we poisoned it. Basically, we're just like, everybody shut the fuck up. And they're like, no, actually we won't shut the fuck up. Yeah,
that is actually an awesome analogy. Like, you just touched on a really kind of crucial, I think probably the crux of that point is that we've tried to deal with it, like as a community, we've tried to deal with it and tried to kind of calm it down.
Did a pretty shit
find
job.
Solutions. And we've ended up probably like taking that toxicity and putting it in a place which just let it grow even more and like flourish even more. So it's kind of like we inadvertently obviously again collective kind of inadvertently kind of fed the monster.
Yeah, and I think
we're sitting in that kind of that place now where it's kind of like
what
created this situation. Yeah, it's like and because we did it inadvertently, it's like we're not quite sure how to deal with it. It's kind of like, but
we're stuck.
Like it's crazy because, like you said earlier on, everyone that we know personally, and I speak myself, I know you probably say the same thing, like great people like we game with are the communities, as in like the communities within the gaming community that we play with. Fantastic people, positive people, they're great. They're, talking about games, you can have solid discussions with them, but like when you see that the community as a whole has probably gotten worse, it's just like
it gives me a headache. It actually like stresses me the fuck out. Like when anytime literally anything happens in this community, I get stressed the fuck out because I know, like, I don't know why I do this to myself, but I'll go to like some tweet that'll pop up or whatever, like somebody retweets a tweet or whatever from somebody I don't follow, and it's like something I vaguely agree with or understand, at least the point of where they're coming from, and I'll scroll, and then it's always like, trash. That was trash. That game is trash. And then it's like, oh my god, hype. That's like the best game ever. And then you have people that are like, I tapped out like 4 years ago into this series, but fuck this game. And you're like, what? Like, what?
My god.
It hurts.
My god. That's literally the worst thing that I do. Like, it's the worst habit that I have. I'll go into a tweet for a specific game, whether it's a game that I like or whether I don't like. I just want to kind of look at the discourse. Well, I say look at the discourse. I just click on the tweet. And the thing is, it's crazy on Twitter. Like, you don't necessarily have to click on the tweets, but I do it anyway.
Yeah,
and then I start
it anyways. We're like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, it's like, I start scrolling. I'm just like, oh, I think I've just lost like 100 brain cells by scrolling through this thread, just seeing, and it's always like a specific type of profile picture, a specific type of username.
You either have the bald eagle with the flag, or you have the anime girls. It's usually the two people I see.
Or right? Or on the UK side, you have like the British flag.
Oh yeah. I
You have
figured.
like all these like insignias and stuff in their names.
Yep.
And I'm just thinking, I see some. I'm just like, I really want to say, like, with all the love and care in the world, like, it's really not that deep.
It's
Like, you just want to say to them, it's like, it's
guys.
really not.
I know
Like,
this is crazy, but hear me out, all right? It's just a video game. Like it's just a video.
right.
The video game
I was
cannot
like,
hurt you. It cannot do damage to you unless
it's
like your
not a
console
sentient
explodes.
thing.
Like unless like
Right.
you know
And
so
a bit of shrapnel comes out and hits you in the eye or
so
something.
Sony releases Spider-Man Miles Morales and it makes your PS4 plant like fan spin so fast that it explodes and then the shrapnel from the fan like you know destroys your face like that could happen because the PS4 fans are terrible but like otherwise the game will not hurt you. It can't hurt you. It's just a thing that exists that you don't have to spend money on
Yeah.
or even give attention to.
Oh man, I will say to those watching, please, like, just as a prank, if you're on Twitter, please tweet something like just to see what the reaction would be. Just something along the lines.
The only way
I
this
don't
game
like
will hurt
the
you is if it your console explodes. Like,
Right. Oh,
please.
I don't like Ghost of Tsushima because it makes my PS4 fan spin really hot, and I'm worried it's gonna kill me.
Yeah, like at least then you're having a joke about it. It's funny, right? Like instead of like
Yeah.
I don't know, just being a dickhead. Like
Then again, though, the word that we use a lot so far, nuance.
yeah,
If someone was to post that, realistically speaking, some people might actually take it
yeah,
seriously,
they're
which
gonna
is
take
the
it
scary
seriously.
part.
It's so bad. Yeah, because there's always the people, the word police who are like, yeah, well, when he said this, what he actually meant was this, and you're like, no, actually, I meant exactly what I said. That's why I worded it that way because I'm not an idiot and I know how to use language. Like, you know, it's so. So I guess let's move. Because we've been going for a little bit, so I feel like we can kind of get towards wrapping it up. But to wrap it up, let's move towards positivity, right? Let's move towards what actually the fuck we can do. And honestly, like the best suggestion I can have from the perspective that I have based on my experiences and you know what I've found to work is that when you like if you decide to engage with people online, specifically in the gaming community, first of all, don't assume their intentions. That's where the big fights first start. Like, just like you said, like, some asshole's gonna be like, you made a joke about the PS4 fan. And unless in your fucking bio you're like, Sony for life, heart, I have tattoo of, like, the PlayStation logo on my balls. Like, some shit like that, you know? Like they're gonna, like, for some reason take you seriously.
Yeah.
Like, just don't be that person. Just be like, hey... Like instead of being like, hey, what do you mean by that? Maybe be like, oh, like, is this a serious problem? Or like just have an actual try to like actually have a conversation instead of you know being like a 5-year-old bully. You know,
Like a knee-jerk reaction, kind
Yeah.
of. Oh, you said that. How dare you?
I am
Where,
triggered.
like, why?
I'm so triggered right now.
Yeah, I'm just fuming, just shaking with anger, just eyes getting red and bloodshot.
Yeah, and maybe just like I think you're the person who does this the most out of the people that we talk to. You're the one who sends the most positive tweets. When I occasionally like creep on your profile and see like who you're sending tweets to or whatever, like you send love to just people when you like whatever, like people in development or whatever, stuff like that. Like if you like a game, maybe just tell the people who make the game that you like it. And if some asshole comes along and is like, I didn't like it because the game is shit, be like, oh, well, can you tell me what you didn't like about it? And then just like, at least if you frame it like that, the person most likely will come back to you and be like, well, I thought the gameplay was clunky. Instead of like, occasionally, obviously, we'll get this person who's just like, yeah, well, the game's total trash. And you're like, okay, but why? Why do you like? What don't you like? And they'll be like, well, I like good games. Like occasionally, you know, you'll get people like that, and just ignore those types of people. They're not worth having your time and energy. But
Yeah.
there are people you can just have conversations with, and I've had instances where I've had conversations with people back and forth online, and like things start out real rough because they do that. They're just like, oh, this guy's an asshole. And like, to be fair, for some reason I do kind of give off the vibe without you knowing me that I am an asshole. So like that's I don't take it personally. Like people see my face and they're like, this guy looks like a dick. Like so they just want to fight with me.
Little do they know. No,
Yeah, little do they know I'm not that terrible. You know,
Yeah.
I'm actually a semi-decent person. But you know, like I don't know. That's like honestly the best I can do about it is just like our language. Just like I don't know, talk to like my biggest thing is that when I have conversations with people, if you talk to people like you would your family members, you know what I mean? Like that's the only I don't know if it's the same way in Britain, but or in England, but with an American family exactly, there's always this level of not respect but boundary. You always know when you're gonna go too far with your family members. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, some people do it intentionally just to like get the rise out of you, but like maybe think about it that way. Just like, okay, maybe I don't have to like push it this far. I don't have to be like a huge dick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if they're being a dick to you, because obviously I'm sure we all have family members who are terrible, but like when you see them, you're not like, hey, Uncle Dickhead, how are you, you fuck? Like, you know what I mean? You're not like, fuck you right off the bat. Like, I already don't like you. I know I don't like you, so I'm going to be a dick to you. Like, you know, you don't do that. You see your uncle or whatever that you don't like, and you're like, hey, how you doing? You do the little pleasantry bullshit, and you go about your fucking business at the family event or whatever, you know? Like, and that's as far as you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, if you approached it like that, maybe we could get somewhere as a community instead of having 34 goddamn tweets back and forth about bullshit that has nothing to do with it and like everybody name calling each other. Like, you know?
Right. No. Yeah, so like on that same kind of point of like potential solutions, I think facilitating discourse is definitely one way out of kind of this mess that the community is finding itself in, because everyone has an opinion and the gaming community is rife with people with opinions, and as would any other community be, but gaming specifically, we're very passionate people. I'm very passionate about elements in gaming. You're very passionate, you know, are the ambassadors, whether it's Daryl or Jason or Jordan or whoever, like we're all very passionate about specific things, and that's fair, that's fine. But like facilitating discourse that doesn't always end in like, now I agree with what you're saying kind of thing, or now I agree with your opinion, because this is a great thing about discourse. It doesn't mean you're going to come away from that discourse being like, my whole opinion has changed or something. Right. For instance, as you were mentioning about the whole like what you liked about a game, what you didn't like about the game, it's like, okay, cool, like combat is clunky in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, for example. If say you play the game, I play the game, you give me that, you throw that criticism at me, I can be like, oh, cool, I agree, it is a bit clunky, but I didn't mind it too much.
Right.
But then for you, that was your kind of drop-off point.
Yeah, and that's just a preference at that point.
Exactly. We've had a in that discussion, you've mentioned the thing that was kind of like your drop-off point. I've stated my point of view saying that I agree, but it wasn't bad enough for me to be like, oh, that's terrible. But for you, it was. I'm just like, cool, you know, I suppose so. Like, right. And through that, just from that example there, we found a common ground where, like, I actually agree with something you said, even though your point of view is completely different to mine.
Right.
But we're still on our separate paths, and the more people do that, I think, in the gaming community, I think it's just going to improve relationships between,
for sure,
I say camps in terms of like PlayStation, Xbox, and the other. It's like, and also, and especially, I think this new generation is a perfect time to kind of look forward positively and optimistically in this front, where it's like, because Xbox is so different to PlayStation now, we should, instead of being like, I want Xbox to be PlayStation 2.0, why is Xbox not PlayStation 2.0? Because that's never going to end well.
Yeah, exactly.
You just be like, I really dig what Xbox is doing for Xbox gamers.
Right.
I really dig what PlayStation is doing for PlayStation gamers. I might not agree with everything PlayStation is doing, but the things that I do agree with, props on that. And on that front, we share a lot of common ground.
Right.
Then same thing from PlayStation side to Xbox side. If we're just looking at PlayStation, Xbox, because that's where the red, like,
that seems like the most
tribalism.
conflict at this point. It seems like the PC
know
players
what
at
I'm
this
saying?
point have been like memed enough on the like my $2,000 PC is better than your $500 console shit that they're just like,
Swaying here.
yeah, yeah, they're like, all right, we're above this shit and we're just gonna fight with each other. Like, we haven't talked about PC gaming because I think for the most part, many people I think you and Jason are really the only people who play on PC.
Yeah.
For the most part, and even then, you don't, based on the conversations we've had, you don't seem as active in discussions about that community as you do Xbox, for example.
Yeah, it's just about gaming. I'm just
Yeah.
like, if a lot of the games I play on PC, I also have like on console, so I have like doubled or triple dipped or whatnot.
Yeah.
And like, while it's great, I'm playing a game at a higher res and playing at higher frame rates a lot of the time. And it's just like, all right, cool. But it's more kind of like I just ebb and flow.
Yeah, and
So I
think,
never really see it as like, I'm a primary this player, I'm
Right.
a primary that player. I'm just like ebbing and flowing throughout all the consoles that I own.
my hope is that this generation we see, and I think this actually, it's related, but it's also weird. It might not be an effect people think about, but for example, crossplay. I think crossplay will really make a huge difference if it's implemented day one in as many games as possible. That way, you don't have people who are switching back and forth between consoles just for the sake of playing with their friends. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and then you can,
100%.
because then like, I've been on that end. I didn't really care for the 360 that much. I think the 360 probably had, honestly, some of the best games ever made on it. They're a little old and janky looking now, but still, when you play them, you find enjoyment in them. I didn't like playing on the 360, but I bought it because that's what my friends had, so that's why I played it. But I didn't like shit on Xbox because I didn't like them. I was just like, man, I wish this was a little bit different. Or I wish this was a little bit more like PlayStation. Or I wish, their games were a little bit better. Or more oriented towards what I like. And so it was hard for me to get into that ecosystem. And I really hope that when we see crossplay, hopefully bloom this generation coming in, that people will go, okay, cool. It doesn't matter what system I buy. I can play with my friends, so I'll just buy the one I like. And I won't buy the one I don't like. And there you go. Now you can shut the fuck up and you can play with your friends. Like,
Yeah. All
that's
these
my hope.
multi-platform games that have multiplayer components, you can play with your friends on those. And
Right.
when it comes to games that specifically are made by PlayStation Studios on PlayStation platforms, you play that. People that enjoy the Xbox games, whether it's Forza Motorsport, whether it's Fable, whether it's Avowed, whatever it is, they'll play it on Xbox side, and there'll be a connective tissue via means of crossplay. That make a good point. I do think I completely 100% agree. Crossplay has to become
The norm.
crossplay is up there. Where I think with 60 FPS, people saying that 60 FPS needs to be the standard. Like, we should throw like crossplay into that kind of bucket of things that next gen needs to prioritize for sure. Because if we want a way out of this kind of mess and like a difficult kind of community we found ourselves kind of falling into, and it's sad because it's kind of like a family, isn't it? It's like, if a family member's kind of doing the wrong things or being like bad or whatnot, like, it's gonna hurt you because you want it to be better. Like, it's not like we separate ourselves from the gaming community. We are the gaming community, but it's kind of like we want it to improve, and for it to improve, there's things that are in our control, like we mentioned about the discourse and stuff. We can do all those things, but I think from the higher up, from a higher level perspective, we have like things like crossplay and stuff like that. And I think a little kind of side note is that, just kind of accept that, especially now, these companies are on different paths.
Yeah, they really
that
are.
tribalism stuff is completely kind of,
they're not comparative. They're not going to be comparative at all, except with the sole exception of the fact that they have the same third-party games. That's it. Like, otherwise they're not the same at all. Basically, this generation, they were very similar, I feel like, at the start, or at least when they dropped not Series X, the Xbox One X, and PlayStation dropped the Pro. I feel like that's the most equal they've ever been as platforms. Like, in terms of like, you're basically getting the same experience no matter what. No matter what you do. Differences aside with some like frame rates or whatever. Pro obviously can't do native 4K, stuff like that. But one of the things with I'm sorry, could you repeat?
As a checkerboard 4K became like a meme at those times. Like, Xbox is doing native and PlayStation is doing
Yeah.
checkerboard 4K. But then on the contrary of that, you'd have people saying, "Oh, Xbox has got a 3 teraflop like jump on PlayStation. How are they not doing 4K native?" It's just like,
Yeah.
oh god.
Yeah, it never ends. The complaining never ends. I guess I want to end on the crossplay thing specifically because I've been talking personally about crossplay before crossplay even had a terminology. Like I thought for sure this generation was the generation that would lock that in. Like specifically because the reason why everybody always told me crossplay is impossible with consoles is because their architecture is too different. The games are made on different, the systems are too different. It's impossible to run them exactly with one another. And I'm like, okay, that's just not true because PC people do it. Like
All the time.
yeah, and they literally have nothing the same at all. The only thing that's the same is they run Windows. Otherwise, their parts are totally different. Like everybody's
Yeah, but
PC is...
for example, you've got an AMD CPU, I've got an Intel CPU,
Yeah.
you've got an AMD GPU, I've got an NVIDIA GPU, yet we're still able to play the same game and have the same
Right.
experience. Shock horror.
Right, and so I thought for sure this generation, like, yo, they have to do it at this point. They're even if you account for that stupid argument, the PS4 and the Xbox One were so similar in terms of like architecture and power. Obviously, as we know, the base PS4 ran things a little bit better and a little bit higher, but now when you got Pro and you got X, like they're basically identical. X obviously is more powerful and it's capable of doing more, but when you see them in action, they're basically the same. Like when you see this, you know, a Call of Duty on PS4 and Xbox One are basically the same at this point.
In motion, you're literally not seeing any difference whatsoever.
Barely, and maybe it's like occasionally a texture looks different or something. You know what I mean? Like a little bit better on X. Like maybe they put a cargo net or some shit on something. Like it's dumb bullshit that really is not going to affect you or like the game itself. So that is probably, if I had to say, like my biggest disappointment in terms of like the platform holders side on enabling this type of stuff. And things they actually could do to do that. That would be like my big criticism of them, I guess, if we're not just solely criticizing ourselves. Because that's a way in a way that they could facilitate the community in such a way that like I can't believe we're still at this point. Like personally, like I can't believe I still have to buy like whatever on one. I have to buy 2 copies, and I can't play with my friends on the other. Like Avengers isn't gonna have crossplay. Like, come on, man.
Come on.
Like it's. I wouldn't care if it was like, oh, hey, here's this new IP from Square Enix and it's super cool, whatever. But like, you pick the Avengers, like every casual on Earth is gonna buy that. Like, you know what I mean? That game's gonna sell like hotcakes, and there's gonna be people who buy it on PlayStation and buy it on Xbox, and they're gonna be like, oh, we can't play together, and they're gonna get pissed. Like,
yeah,
it's just like I feel like we're past that point. And we said this when it happened with Fortnite and fuck, what was the other one? Rocket League, and there was another one. But anyways, as soon as that happened and they were like, yeah, we're gonna let these games do it, I'm like, that's it, you've already fucked yourself. The floodgates are open. You can't close this door. Once you open this door, that's it. Like there's no going back.
Yeah.
Because now everybody's gonna be like, why don't you just do it? You can do it. And I think the most damning, honestly, was when Rocket League came out and said it. I forget exactly who said it, but and Fortnite too. They basically said the same thing of like, yeah, actually, crossplay is really easy. We figured it out like 3 years ago. We just need to literally flip a switch and it's on, but they won't let us do it. Specifically Sony.
Yeah.
In most cases, Sony wouldn't let them do it. And
yeah,
I'm just like, I thought this was impossible, bro. Like, I thought it was impossible, but whatever, it is what it is. So,
but that's a key. I think that's definitely a key. Like if we're gonna kind of summate like the whole thing and kind of wrap it up in a bow and say, what can we do? Obviously, our side, our personal responsibility is being definitely more conscious of our language, the discussions that we're having, being more open to, being more kind of like listening as well as speaking, and not always trying to change other people's opinions. But then one thing we can, I suppose, hope and pray for from the higher ups is that, I say higher ups as in looking to the sky, hoping and praying. It's like Lord Phil Spencer. No, I'm kidding. Is that they do things like crossplay, man. That is,
it's essential.
That's gonna be the real source. Yeah, that's gonna be the real source. Like if games start dropping day and date with crossplay, as in whether you get it on Xbox or PlayStation or PC, wherever you get it on, you're playing with your friends.
Right.
Huge deal. Because then you have your Avoweds and you have your Forza Motorsports, and you have those games, and you have your God of Wars, and your
Mhm.
Spider-Mans, and your whatever. You have those, but then everything else is like wherever your friends are, my guy, or like wherever you want to play, like you playing with your friends, no worries.
Yeah, I think
Arguments finished.
the dumbest point against crossplay specifically, and I think I'll end on your response to this, is that they're worried that people specifically like you are gonna kind of disappear. The people that buy multiple copies of the game across platforms, and like as far as I'm aware, you just do it because you just like a game. You're just like, well, I liked it on Xbox and I want to play it again. I guess I'll buy it on PlayStation. Fuck it, why not? Like, you know, like
Yeah.
crossplay is not going to affect that for people like you. But I think for some reason they're worried that they're going to lose sales on that. I don't know why. Like, it makes no sense to me, really, because like you're gonna make up the differences in sales, no matter how it works. Like, if people were gonna buy something on PlayStation to play with their PlayStation friends, but they prefer Xbox, then Xbox is gonna get a boost, and vice versa. Like, it'll balance itself out. Like, it's just gonna end up the same way it already is, except it's just everybody can play together. At least that's my theory.
Yeah.
So,
No, I agree. It's I think it's an untested hypothesis that the that enabling crossplay is going to somehow lead to less sales on whatever platform. Like people,
that's
I
Sony's
think the
theory, at
brand preference.
least.
Yeah, exactly. Brand preference is always going to be a thing. Like mind share, this and the other. Like no matter how much I kind of walk around on my Android phone, for example, someone who loves iPhone is going to get an iPhone. iPhone can put
Yeah.
anything, they'll get an iPhone. Even though all the same apps they can use, I can use as well, but they're still going to get the iPhone. So the same way, and crossplay even on
Yeah.
mobiles as well. Like someone with an iPhone can't just call people on iPhones or video call people on iPhones on certain apps.
Yeah.
I can video chat people. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
that's actually really. I just thought of that example
Yeah.
right now.
Mobile has been
But
a ubiquitous platform for years at this point.
exactly right. So I think the same kind of applies for console. Is that you like? I'm just saying, for example, like you love Sony. You love Sony's platforms. I love, for the most part, like Xbox and Xbox platforms. Like that's not going to change just because we're able
Yeah.
to buy a game. Like you'll keep buying your games on PlayStation. I'll keep buying my games on Xbox.
And
Like
even
that's gonna
now, I switch. Like, sometimes I'm like, you know what? I feel like this game will probably be better on Xbox, or I want to use my Elite controller, or like, I just want to buy it on Xbox. That happens sometimes. I'm just like, I just want to buy this on Xbox. Or like one of the factors for me is like, if I don't really care about trophies, for example, for a game, I'll just get it on Xbox. Like, if I don't care about platinuming a game, because that's like a dumb semantic bullshit argument for me. Like, I wish Xbox had like a platinum thing, but even if they don't, like, it's not that big of a deal to me. But like, if I don't care about that, I'm just like, okay. Like, I got a Dragon Ball Z Kakarot on Xbox. Why? Because I just thought I would have a better experience on Xbox, and I don't know what it's like on PlayStation, but I enjoyed it quite a lot on Xbox. And I've had plenty of games that I got on Xbox that I quite enjoyed. So it depends. But I really think
game by game basis.
Yeah, pretty much. So I think that's a good way to end it. So we're gonna end this video here. Appreciate everybody. Obviously, we would love to have you join the discussion in the comments. Obviously in chat as well, for those that are watching live. And so we're gonna end this one here. Bye, everybody.
Perfect. Deuces.